Automatics have two purposes. One is so owners can take them to the shooting range once in a while, yell yee-haw and get all horny at the rapid fire, and the burning vapor sprouting out of the end of the barrel. Their other use, their only other use, is to kill. Stephen King. Luckily, there was enough food to go around. Mainly muffins. One of the texts said it was because so many ponies were whining about not getting any. That Pop-Tart made a tone more this time around. They were some all green ones, of which I did not pick. What I did enjoy was a nice blueberry and chocolate muffin, along with some apple cider. So, after he installed the dance program on the Pip-Buck 2800, he took it to the dance floor, confident that it was going to work first try. Cloudbank had a smirk on his face as he was telling the story. I tried to tell him that even the Sats could not help with targeting a weapon, but getting it to put out dance moves might be overtaxing it. Well, he proved me wrong when he turned it on. I'd never seen any old pony move like that before. Real 5-star stuff. But the only problem was, the dance moves were for younger ponies, and far more flexible than he was. Poor fool threw out his back and had to retire. It sounded both painful and hilarious at the same time. The others just chuckled at it. I could only guess they had heard it before. They were probably there when it happened. Cloudbank sighed. Because of that, and a few other accidents, we had to put most SATS research on hold. I miss the old fool. He may have been foolishly ambitious, but he was a real charmer, June said, sounding a little sad as she spoke. I remember when he tried to make a chat option list for the SATS, for when he was talking to mares. But seeing that he had time and agents getting caps of water splashed into his face, I tried it on to see what was wrong with it. As it turns out, he used some dating simulation game for the text options. All of it was cheesy and stupid. He still doesn't forgive me for deleting it. I remember that, Cloudbank chuckled. He vowed revenge over that, and stuck duct tape all over your work area, and your terminal. June groaned. I should have known it was him. Taking a sip of her cider, June looked over at me. So, Slow-Trot, do you have any stories? I heard that Applewood can be pretty crazy at times. Well, let me think. There was a few things that I had seen over the years. Mainly it was drunk ponies doing stupid drunk pony stuff. There was one time some pony burst out into song, but I think they were just off their medicine or something, so every pony ignored it. That's all. What about the times you went out to the bar with your friends, or had a party with your roommates? Emerald added. I fiddled with the remains of one of my muffins, another kind of question I strongly disliked being asked, as I never had a good answer other than a lie. Well, I never really had the time for that stuff. When I did have a roommate, they were too busy to work much. It was more than my roommate at the time had other ponies to hang out with, and I just did a whole lot of nothing with my time, mainly walking around the city before it got dark. Well, you must have had at least a few friends you hang out with. Emerald pushed. It felt annoying, but I knew what she meant well. I did have a friend I hanged out with a lot, but we drifted apart when he confessed his love for me. I wasn't into stallions, he was, and I don't think he could be around me when he still had feelings. Now everything was awkward. Too much information, Slow-Trot. Cloudbank snickered. So, how many stallions have confessed to you? He was trying to hold back his amusement, and was doing a poor job of it. Just the one, I said flatly as possible. It was not a topic I wanted to get into further. A long yawn came from June. I'd love to stay and chat more, but I need to get some rest. Cloudbank, take the team to the testing chambers. See if you can set up another hour. Come get me when it's ready. You know, I need some rest as well, Cloudbank said with a huff. And you'll get it when you're done. June got up and walked away. Cloudbank paused for a moment before looking upset. That's not fair. There are laws about this. Laws! He futilely waved a hoof at June. She was already going out the door. Sighing, Emerald got up out of her seat at the table. All right, every pony. We got some teleportation tests to do. Let's get to it. She had a hoof in the air in excitement. The rest of the techs cheered with enthusiasm as they got out of their seats and were heading out the door, led by Emerald. Cloudbank floated out of his seat, his wings flapping very slowly. Just stay in Labs B, Slow Trot, and we'll come get you when we're ready. His wings still flapping slowly, he floated out of the cafeteria. It was nice to have everything all quiet again. Not that I didn't like their company. I did, but at the same time, I didn't like being in crowds all that much. Most of the techs would keep glancing at me. Though to be fair, it was probably the Pipbuck they were looking at. It still bothered me, though. It wasn't even all the techs that left. Hairtart, who was in the back room sorting out the supplies, it was something about keeping track of the numbers. I didn't understand the terminology every pony here liked to throw around, but I understood what they were basically saying. Every pony down here was doing some sort of research, so a janitor was never simply a janitor, and had a far better education than I did. Now, thinking about it, if I'd applied myself more at college, I might have gotten a job. No. Even I knew I'd come up short no matter how hard I worked. Always did. And now I just made myself feel depressed. Turning my attention back to my food, the blueberry muffin was long eaten up. Hairtart knew what he was doing. With the right amount of moistener to them, it was one of the best blueberry muffins I'd ever had. I finished the rest of my chocolate muffin. It was awesome as well. Most bakers tend to go with simple milk chocolate, in its own right, but he had managed to get the dark chocolate just right for it. Washing the rest down with the cider, it all felt warm on my belly, though it might have been just the cider. It being 1% alcohol did add a nice trick to helping every pony relax. Looking at the counter, there was still more food and cider. I felt I could still eat a little more. Refilling my glass, I then lifted a different muffin with the Pipbuck's levitation spell, and placed it on the table before doing the same with the glass. I was really liking this levitation thing. Hooves were good for walking, but not good for holding anything. The new muffin was the apple crumble. I'd had it before back home, but never liked how it would just fall apart everywhere. Luckily, this muffin was not as crumbly as I remember them being. Still had a few bits that fell onto the table. Enjoying yourself? I almost jumped out of my seat and choked on the muffin. Probator sat across from me. How she got there and not be seen when I sat down, I do not know. I guzzled some of the cider to help swallow the mouthful of muffin. Don't do that, I gasped. Oh, settle down, Slow Trot. She waved a hoof. The Pipbuck on it didn't seem to fit right. Or, well, look right. You shouldn't be so easily frightened. Not of little old me. I wasn't frightened. You just startled me is all. Seriously, this mare was starting to creep me out a bit. Why was it that the only two mares here who were around my age also happened to be the crazy ones? You missed the upgrade of the Pipbuck. Oh, I didn't miss it. I provided some entertainment, as well as being educational. She said us with a smile on her face. It did not sit well with me. I don't know why, though. But that moment has passed, and I have something I need you to do for me. I was feeling conflicted. I'd only just met this girl earlier that morning. I was hoping it was something stupidly simple like opening a jar of pickles. I can do that. Well, some of the time. Right. What do you need me to do? Well, it's nothing like opening a jar of pickles. I just need you to pick something up for me from the Overmare's office. Just canter on over there when you have a moment. She got out of her seat. Oh, and before you ask what you're looking for, you'll know it when you find it. She held her smile, then walked over to and out the door. Seriously? I just scratched my chin and groaned. Hairtart trotted out of his back room. Who are you talking to out there? Unless you're talking to yourself. Just another one of your strange texts down here. Whatever her talent was, it was probably involving giving others heart attacks. Is that all? If they were here for a potato, tell them that we have spark batteries and they should just use them. And no more of that stuff was flowing over my head. I was starting to suspect that it had to do less with me not being all that smart, and more to do with every pony here being weird. I'll remember that if any pony asks me. I turned my attention back to the muffin and savored every bite. Labs B was busy again. Though there was no massive change in ponies down here, more rooms had their lights on, and every now and then a pony would be going from one room to the next. Most of the ponies would not give me much of a glance, of which I could understand. They must all be busy or something. As I trotted around, I could hear the sound of a pop now and again, it being out of place from the sound of tapping keyboards and the hum of terminals. Tracking the sound, it came from a room which still had its door open, which to me meant I could at least take a look around. To my amazement, the room had guns and gun parts all over the place, everything neatly lined up, having its own place. Taking a closer look, each table had just one kind of gun on it, and a lot of parts that looked to be for that gun. One table had a pistol, another a shotgun, a third had a rifle. But what caught my eye was a table that had some kind of boxy thing with a mouth trigger attached to it. That there's an old magical energy gun, kiddo. The voice of an old stallion surprised me, almost making me jump. Turning around, I saw the old stallion from the small party yesterday. His stable barding had a number of belts, of which had rifle holsters on them. I cannot remember what his name was. Sorry, the door was open, so I thought I'd have a look. No, I'm done. You didn't touch the guns, so I got no reason to get upset. His accent reminded me of one of the minor ponies that lived in the mountains. They always had some story about dealing with the monsters that lived near them. By the way, you got that fat pit bug the others were making a fuss all over. I lifted my left leg and wiggled it a bit. The pit bug was still heavy, and made my leg a little stiff to wiggle, so it just shaked a little instead. Yep, they got it all fixed too. I'm just waiting for them to set up the test chamber. The old pony just eyed the pit bug for a few seconds, stroking his beard. I bet June's gone and went and removed some combat program on the thing. She always does. He nodded his head with his own words. Say, you want to do some target practice? Wait, was he asking me to shoot a gun? It's not something I'd ever done before. The only gun I ever had seen fired was an old musket. Musket ball, what his name was. So, he wanted me to shoot a gun. Sadly, I didn't own any. With what? I knew I just made an idiot of myself as soon as I said the words. I was in a room filled with guns, and he would know that I didn't have one on me. Musket swiveled his head around before looking back at me. Good question. I say we could shoot shit from a cat's ass, but ain't got no cats. So let's start with these guns. I gotta say, that was one of the more creative ways to call me an idiot, so I ain't even mad. Sorry, I meant which one should I start with? Take a look. Pick two. You can try them out on the range. He then pointed to another room with his hoof. Right. Pick two guns and try them out. Easy enough. Starting with what was closest to me, I lifted the levitation, the boxy gun, the magical energy gun as he called it. The levitation was no good for controlling the thing in the air, so I had to manipulate it with my hooves to get a closer look. Found one spot where I guessed that the ammunition would go, and turned it around some more. I had a piece of glass that I guessed was where the thing shot out magical energy. The gun was snatched out of my hoof so quickly I didn't even have time to be startled. You're a real idiot, aren't you, son? Don't go looking down the barrel of a gun. Not till you know it's got no ammo in it to shoot. Oswald gave me a stern look as he put the gun back in its place. Unless you'd like the idea of becoming a pile of ash. Sorry? Thought it was safe? Musket raised an eyebrow, making me feel stupid again. It's not safe, it's a gun. Figured that the boxing weapon was not for me, and I moved to the other tables. The next 3 tables had pistols on them. The first 2 tables had pistols I'd seen before. One was the kind the military pony used and liked to show. The other was the kind that I would see on sale anywhere that sold a gun. The third table was on the other hoof, had a kind of pistol that reminded me of some of the movies I would watch, where the hero would whip out his kind of pistol just in time to save the day. Mr. Musketball? This one called? Pointing at the movie pistol, I said. Musketball trot over, giving me an annoyed look, but oddly smiled when he saw what I was pointing at. Ah, that there's a classic. 45 auto pistol. The Equestria military was using it before the MWT decided to switch over the 10mm pistol. An excellent gun for those who remember what a pistol's meant to be. And what's a pistol meant to be? That being the gun you use before getting into hoof-to-hoof combat. Son, you'd be a fool to think that a pistol is, in any right, a first-choice gun. You pull this thing out just to get empty into what's attacking you, and pray to Celestia that's enough for your hooves to finish the job. He looked back at the pistol, and hoofed it into his belt, giving me a wink. I think this'll do. Trust me. So, with the handgun decided, I was not going to argue with the old stallion. I moved to the next batch of tables. This time, it was a whole bunch of shotguns. Some short barrel, others were pump action, the kind I see in movies. Nothing that really caught my eye. Now that I think about it, in the movies it was mostly unicorns that used the shotguns. The times when it was earth ponies using them, it was normally a battle saddle. A sharp whistle from Musketball caught my attention. You want to try another early war weapon as well? Shrugging. Why not? What do you suggest? The old stallion knew more about this than me. Might as well follow his lead. A battle rifle. Sure, it's not your spray and pray that the MWT gives all their troops. This girl's the best rifle that's ever been made. He picked up a large rifle in his hooves. This here's the best battle rifle ever made, and first to be used for battle saddles. The M1G. Brought it over as he hoofed it over through one of his belts. Are you sure? I've never fired any kind of gun before. Trust me, you fire this, you'll be throwing bits at me to own it. Muskie then pointed over to the other rifle on his back with a hoof. It was the same kind of rifle. Along the side it said, well, this machine kills stripes. Along the side. This was my grandson's when he fought in the war over 10 years ago. Got him through that mess, and back to his mare. The old stallion breathed with pride. Well, I guess now I have to give it a shot. I gave Musket a smile. He rolled his eyes and trotted out of the other room. I followed. The other room definitely was a shooting range, like I'd seen in some of the cop movies. It had 6 coves from which to shoot a gun, and had better ventilation than any room I'd ever seen before. To my surprise, Underbrush was there. She was cleaning a pump-action shotgun, and how she just floated it around just cemented my thought of shotguns being a unicorn gun. Musketball whistled again, getting her attention. Brush, you want to see a greenhorn shoot a gun? Underbrush smirked. You parents like parties. She then put her shotgun down and trotted over to us. Musketball placed both guns in one of the coves and waved me over. Now I'm going to show you how to load these properly. I'll just need to get some ammo first. And then trotted off to the side. Looking at the guns, this time with my hoof, they were surprisingly heavy, and didn't shine like they did in the movies. The metal was more black and silver. A soft laugh came from Underbrush as she walked next to me. This'll be fun. Trust me. The old fool makes all his own parts, so the guns you got are practically hoof-forged. Looked at the guns again, feeling impressed. You know how Stable-Tec's catchphrase is built to last? Old Musketball here applies the same to his guns. He could probably smash through the other surplus guns up at security and still fire these. She shrugged. Too bad Stable-Tec doesn't sell weapons. They would have made a killing. Underbrush laughed through her teeth. The smell of moonshine wafted off her breath. I almost forgot he gives out moonshine. Musket Ball pushed Underbrush back and out of the way. She found a nice seat not far from us. Now, load the pistol properly. Keep your mouth on the bit, turn your head, use both hooves to push the magazine in. Also, have one hoof lower so you can use it to push the magazine in the rest of the way. I followed his instructions, fumbling with the magazine the first few times, but eventually, after a good 10 tries, I was getting the hoof of it. Not that I was any good, but I wasn't dropping the magazine anymore. It all felt awkward for me to do, and my neck was quickly getting sore. Musket then moved on to the M1G, but unlike the pistol, it loaded from the top. It needed clips for loading. The rifle was also heavier than I thought it was going to be, and made me think that this thing could be a goddamn club. Now, you're gonna want to watch out for your hooves if you do this right. Keep one hoof on the load trigger, put in the clip, and it pushes down with your other hoof. I did as he asked, using my mouth to put in a clip as I pushed down on it. But as I pushed down, my other hoof lost its grip, and the hoof that was pushing in the ammo, a small bit, got sheared off. Both Musket Ball and Underbrush laughed. The next few times were much more successful, and didn't involve me losing a small bit of my hoof. Well, I think that's well good enough. I'll put these on before shooting the things off. He pointed at some earplugs and over at some head earmuffs. Both Musket Ball and Underbrush were already putting their own on. First was the M1G, and this was quite awkward to even hold. I had used the table to hold it properly, and my hooves to aim it. But once I had the target in my sights, it was easy to keep it still for me to line up a shot. When I pushed the tong trigger, I felt a shockwave from the gun, and a slight crack through the earplugs. Letting go a breath I didn't know I was holding, I could feel my hooves shake a little, my heart beating faster. I don't know why, but firing a rifle had scared me, or excited me. I didn't know which the feeling was, but I didn't like it. I felt it was probably best to be waiting for the shaking to pass. When I felt better, I fired a few more shots, the rifle holding only 8 at a time. I made each shot count. I was able to get 4 shots into the target with my first clip, and all into the second. The 45 auto pistol was next. The thing had a bit of a kick to it, but not the same as the M1G. But I didn't hit the target with any bullets from the first magazine. I did take my time with each of the 7 shots in the magazine, but only nicked the target with the second magazine. With the third magazine I actually hit, with 3 shots going in, 2 just a bit off, and the last 2 missing. I was given a 4th magazine and I managed to hit all 7 shots on the target, but nothing that hit the red dot in the center. Overall, I was okay with shooting it, and I might be able to see the fun in it. Maybe. After I had fired the 4th magazine, Musket Ball tapped me on the shoulder to get my attention. He had taken off his ear protection, so I did the same. Now, why don't we try and use the sats? But first, let me see that pip buck. I gotta check and see if it even works. I hoofed over my left hoof, and he started to press a few buttons. Yep, I thought so. This don't make weapons removed, the targeting part of your sats, so you can slow time for you to think, but nothing else. So, no targeting from the pip buck? It was no big loss for me. I was not expecting to go fight in the war, or really wanted to fight anyone in the first place. Musket Ball chuckled. Got a nice little workaround for that. Just need to install a new targeting program. And I got a new one I've been testing right here. He pulled out what looked like a metal bar and plunged it into part of my pip buck. Is the Tactical Improvement, Motion, and Tactical Targeting Program. Does the same thing as SATs, but also will help you reload a gun, or help you move your flank to a new position. Now I was confused. How on TARS does it do that? Well, like how it helps you target and shoot a gun, makes your whole body move all aerodynamic. It'll also do the same for reloading your gun, moving short distances.
Just tell Sats to do it, and it'll do the rest.
Musket Ball then pulled out the bar he had put in my pit buck.
Try the reloading.
Did sound cool. So I took hold of the M1G and pushed the button to activate Sats to stop time. Now, if I remember, the energy needed to use the targeting spell was called action points, or AP, and the amount I had appeared in my vision along with the targeting of my enemy, which this did not happen. What I got was something called action turns, or AT, and an option to act, move, or end. Not needing to move, I chose the option act, and both the target I was shooting at and musket ball were highlighted, along with another option to attack, reload, or end. Selecting the reload, I was taken back to the first three options. Now with my AT stating that one was being used, and one more was ready. The option also now had back as something I could pick, but I chose to end. My body moved quickly, pulling out a clip, pushing it in, and locking the chamber in a near fluid motion. I would feel impressed with myself if I was the one that did it. The whole thing was inventory. For the short seconds, I did not have control of my body. Musket Ball chuckled again.
Works like a charm, don't you think? It's too bad I never got past development. Normal Sats worked well enough, and the Pitbuck 3000s were already out in the world.
It said I only have 2 ATs. Why is that?
And that's because it uses more power, but recharges a little better. I say it's a good trade-off. The normal Sats has you standing around after shooting your gun, open to any fool who would. They'll shoot you back. Now this, you can shoot and jump over cover, or get to cover to shoot.
Musket Ball then looked back down the range.
Now, try shooting the target again. Stats.
Putting back on our ear protection, I turned Sats back on. Our little chat was the time the Pitbuck needed to recharge the spent AT. So, picking act again, and then picking attack, I selected the targeting dummy's head, giving me a 75% chance to hit. Doing the same with my second AT, time then sped up as I felt my body take the shots, with both hitting their target, though not getting the red dot in the center. Musket Ball gave me a little push in the shoulder. I let go of the rifle, took out my ear protection.
Easy as cake. Though careful with the movement option. It can push you to move when you don't feel like you can, but it won't if you hurt to do so.
And I certainly hope you would ever need to use it. Emerald Field was standing in the doorway, looking irritated. You have doors, Musket. Close them when shooting. You can hear the gunshots throughout the lab. Her eyes then looked at Underbrush, who was hiding her face with a bottle of what I could only guess was moonshine. And you, didn't your break end over 10 minutes ago? Just because brass badge is out does not mean you can get lazy. Then looked over at me. And you, we're ready to start testing. I just hope you weren't given any of that gut-rot teleportation and be dizzy being on its own. And then with a trot, she went out of sight. Putting the rifle down, I gave the two a smile. I guess it's time to go.
Yep.
Musket Ball stepped out of the way and sat next to Underbrush.
Come back if you want to shoot some more. You might have the making of a trooper, but I think I can see the spark of a hunter.
Can you ask Emerald not to tell Zan for me? Underbrush waved her hoof at me. Stepping out of the shooting range, I could see that Emerald was waiting in the hallway. Before closing the door, I felt needed to ask some more questions. So, bears actually like tea parties? Underbrush laughed. Only with a little yellow Pegasus. I shrugged and closed the door.
Answer was good enough for me.
Footnote. Tactical Sats enabled. 2 execution strikes, ES, unlocked. ES. Neck snap. In hoof-to-hoof combat, if Slow Trot catches the enemy unaware, he can perform this through stats using 2 AT. ES. Navy Buck. In hoof-to-hoof combat, Slow Trot can now perform a full buck through stats using 2 AT. This attack has a plus 10% chance to critical, and a plus 50% chance for critical damage.